Hi, my name's Alejandra Salazar, and I'll be doing my video on this really cool lady, Natalia Goncharova, probably one of the most influential female Russian painters. Side note, I'm really sorry if I butchered these Russian names. I'm really trying, I promise. Natalia Sergeyevna Goncharova was born to a wealthy Russian family on July 3, 1881, in Negevo, Russia. Her father was an architect and a graduate of the prestigious academy, the Moscow Institute of Painting, Sculpture, and Architecture. Goncharova followed in her father's footsteps and began her studies at the school at the age of 20 in 1901. Initially, she started off as a sculptor and gained some recognition for her work in Russian salons at the time. However, this is not what she would become to be known for, so despite many Google searches and going through many pages of Google Images, I wasn't able to find an example of her early sculptures, only ones made in her honor. Anyway, during her time at school, she began to shift her attention to painting, making one of her most prominent works of the time, Self-Portrait with Yellow Lilies. In most of her other self-portraits, especially the one she made before this one, it showed her as the lofty daughter of a noble family, an image she carefully carved for herself. However, this one showed her in her more natural state and focused more on her identity as a painter rather than the idea of herself she put out to the world. I'd also like to note that during this time, she met Mikhail Larionov, another prominent avant-garde painter who became her best friend and lifelong companion and colleague. As she and other students focused on more contemporary styles, Konstantin Korovin expelled a large group of students for doing so in his portrait class, and she, along with many other artists in the school, left in support of their fellow students. Many of these artists would go on to join the radical exhibition group, the Jack of Diamonds. The Jack of Diamonds, also known as the Knave of Diamonds, was founded in 1910 in Moscow by Larionov. The group stated that they wanted to offer young Russian artists who found it extremely difficult to get accepted for exhibitions under the existing indolence and cliquishness of artistic atmospheres the chance to get into the main road. Essentially, they wanted to be a place new artists could explore modern techniques and could be accepted into the mainstream art world rather than relying on those that rejected modern styles. Goncharova herself became known for her controversial religious depictions, criticized for being too primitive. While I'm not sure about the phrasing too primitive, I do have to agree that some of her paintings look very similar to medieval art. I believe that this is a mixture between Goncharova often taking inspiration from classic Russian icons and folk art, and the fact that many modern art movements, such as Cubism, were very similar to the medieval art style, and the fact that they both often rejected perspective in their works. An iconic style that developed from the Jack of Diamonds galleries was Rayonism, which was initially created by Larionov, but was developed by both himself and Goncharova over the course of 2 years, and eventually introduced this art style in the 1913 Target exhibition. They describe this style as the style of Rayonist paintings that we advance signifies spatial forms which are obtained arising from the intersection of the reflecting rays of various objects and forms chosen by the artist's will. The ray is depicted provisionally on the surface by a colored line. That which is valuable for the lover of painting finds its maximum expressions in a Rayonist picture. The objects that we see in life play no role here, but that which is the essence of painting itself can be shown here best of all: the combination of color, its saturation, the relations of color masses, depth, texture. While it was a short-lived movement, it was significant in its even further clear break from classic Russian styles. Yellow and Green Forest is probably one of my favorite works by her because it really captures both that Rayonism, which has really heavy influence in Cubism, with that sort of geometric, kind of light-shattered look to it, which is very common among Cubism. And even though it has more of the effects of early Cubism, it does have that sort of, that really colorful brightness of later Cubism artworks, but also is probably influenced really heavily by, those Russian folk arts and icons and those intricate sort of, intricate sort of embroideries that she really loved to be inspired by. And it really grasps the tumultuous time in Russia, that sort of attempt to harmonize Eastern and Western ideas, or Eastern and Western European ideas, in a way that's really like colorful and really beautiful, but really unique, where the shapes are discernible in a way. You can see them, but you have to squint, you have to look further, you have to interpret it on your own. You can't just rely on the picture to tell you what is in it. and I find that really interesting. Eventually, the most radical members of Jack of Diamonds left to form a new group known as the Donkey's Tail. These artists, including Goncharova, pioneered the Cubo-Futurism style, and over 50 of her works are put on display. However, the last known avant-garde movement she was a part of was Neoprimitism, a common style among Russian avant-garde artists in the early 20th century. This was when Western art movements such as Cubism and Futurism were combined with Russian folk art and idols that had long inspired Goncharova. Shortly after the First World War, she became known for her costume designs for avant-garde Russian ballets. She and Larionov eventually moved to France and received their French citizenship in 1938 after realizing the threat of Nazi Germany and becoming an enemy of the state after criticizing Stalin. Larionov suffered from a debilitating stroke, and only 4 years later, in 1955, did they finally marry. Despite the fact that she was an outcast from her country and that she was riddled with arthritis, she was inspired when Russia launched Sputnik to create one more set of paintings known as Outer Space. She died of cancer on October 17, 1961, and was laid to rest in Paris. Goncharova was inspirational and a controversial figure her whole life. She shocked everyone with her constant casual cross-dressing and refused to be left out of the spotlight because of her gender. She was an inspiration for female artists and became a powerful figure in Russia avant-garde movements because of her skills and determination. She's now one of the most expensive female artists at auction, and she deserves every bit of recognition she gets. So that's it. I just wanted to, these are my sources. Listed all here, just to let you know. And I guess that's it. So thank you for listening. Bye.